Hello everyone, this is Mr. Informal back with a new thoughts, analysis, and rant. Recently, Fuji has announced and also presented the world with the successor to their X100. It is called the Fujifilm X100V. Wow, okay. So, what does the X100V bring to the table? And me, being Mr. Informal, I am giving you my thoughts, analysis, and rant. But first and foremost, let's get into the specifications. The price, $1,400. That's USA. What are we looking at? It's the body is magnesium alloy aluminum. It is a APS-C sensor size. New 26 megapixels X-trans sensor, a redesigned 23mm f2 lens, which is basically the same as previous, but this lens has been redesigned. The screen has changed. No more of the fixed screen. It is now tilting screen with 1.62 million dots of resolution. Same time, it has some video features, 4K at 30 frames per second. I will talk more about that. Obviously has a X-trans sensor. I swear it sounds like a transvestite that I'm speaking of. The ISO is 160 to 12,080. That expands to 80 to 51,200. So the focal length of the 23mm to full frame will become 35 millimeters. So this camera is basically a 35 millimeter camera with f2 aperture. It has a autofocus assist lamp, and then the viewfinder, instead of square as previous predecessor, it is now a circle, which is pretty cool. And then not only that, it has a minimum shutter speed of 30 seconds, maximum of 1 by 4,000 seconds. And then at the same time, it has metering modes, multi-center weighted, average spots, exposure compensation, plus or minus 5. Does it have white balance bracketing? Yes, it does. Now here is the it can shoot JPEG and RAW, but here's the video features that it has. So we got an MPEG and H.264. So we got 4K at 30 frames per second, 4K 25, 4K 24, 4K 23, and then we also got 4K 24, 1080 at 120, 1080 at 100, 1080 60, 50, 30, 25. So no more 720. Does it have a microphone jack? Yes, it does, but it has 2.5 millimeter port, which is absolutely disheartening. It comes with USB 3.1 Type C, which there's also an adapter that you can use it as a headphone jack when you want to monitor your audio during video recording. And battery life is 420 shots, which is pretty good. That's not bad. And in terms of GPS there's no GPS. In terms of the look itself, nothing really has much changed. I mean, the biggest change that I saw was the tilting screen and the removal of a D-pad on the back. So that is the specs. What are my thoughts on this? Well, it is still overpriced, even though the sensor is quite old. I'm not talking about ancient old, a couple years old. The look is still the same, the material is still the same. They just added software based stuff. The biggest change physically is the tilting screen. That is it. Other than that, it's what I expected. And the year is 2020, and for some reason Fuji seems like they're making an iteration of this camera. It's almost like it's a dying camera. So my thoughts on this camera: it's overpriced. It's just a increment upgrade, and many I have seen, they call it refined, but that's what they've been doing. And so it's not much of an upgrade in terms of if you having the current camera right now. And I forgot to mention, finally it is now weather sealed. Based on the previous generations of this camera, the previous one were never weather sealed. This camera is finally weather sealed. So I guess there's two physical changes on this camera. The major ones are tilting screen and weather sealed. So my analysis on this. Now, is this going to move units? Will this be the number one seller for Fuji? No. This is a camera for a specific type of market, for a specific type of demographics and customers. Will this camera suddenly lit a fire on fixed lens camera? No. Is this the kind of camera that you should get even though you're not into cameras? No. Is this the kind of camera that you should wait for it to be on sale? Then yes, because this camera I think produced one of the best images and it is, since it's just a single fixed lens, you got to work with your environment. It's one of those cameras that you will get involved when taking a picture. In the overall market, this camera is not going to move units. I feel as though in the beginning it's almost as this camera, it's a dying camera, because they keep making iterations S, F, and V, whatever. But at the same time, how long will Fuji keep doing this? And it seems as though Fuji is only delaying the inevitable. I truly wish that Fuji could have just made a bigger upgrade than this, but I will get to that, to my rant. So the conclusion to analysis is that this will not move units. It's going to be the same as its previous predecessor. It's not going to change anything. If you love these type of cameras, then sure, you get it. But at $1,400, that is a tough thing to swallow, especially when a lot of smartphones out there are getting major upgrades, and this type of camera may soon disappear. Now, let's get on to my rant. Okay, number one, I'll give them the credit of making a tilting screen, but since it is the year 2020, it should have been a fully articulated screen. Now, don't give me the excuse that it could have been thicker. No way, no how. Because if you look at the previous models of their interchangeable cameras, there are cameras that are articulated screen, and yet they're much more slimmer than the X100. And I forgot the model of that. It could have been XT100 or XT200, whatever it may be. And that camera I know for sure is smaller than the X100. Number two, so you remove the D-pad. Why? I'm looking at the back of the camera and I'm seeing it, and so where's the D-pad? I mean, they have enough space for the D-pad. Why couldn't they just put that in? So that's a big mark. Number three, why are you using 2.5mm microphone port instead of 3.5mm, knowing it's the most common thing? This is what drives me crazy when it comes to these type of companies. You know you can put it, but why even do it? Why would you go halfway? Why would you use a less than common port? Why not just go for it? If you can put a port, put one properly. Number four, still no optical image stabilization. Fuji, you are lagging. It is the year 2020. How much time do you need? I mean, if Olympus can do it, if Nikon can do it, I mean, heck, if Pentax could do it a long time ago, Panasonic could do it. I don't get it. What's the hold up here? And I don't want to hear, oh, we're still researching so. No, you're not. Let's be honest here. And then last but not least, it is the price. At $1,400, it is overpriced. This type of camera to me should only be around $700, because for one, it's a fixed lens. Number two, not as flexible as interchangeable cameras. And number 3, doesn't have, I mean, all the things that I ranted about are missing. So why should I pay $1,400 for this? And don't tell me about limited production, because certainly this is not a limited production camera. And so the rant I just gave is basically my frustration of this camera, because Fuji has incrementally upgraded this camera year by year, and yet for some reason it is now 2020 and they're only adding these features. It just drives me crazy. And so that basically concludes this thoughts, analysis, and rant of the Fujifilm X100V. If you have something to share, if you have any comments on what I said, please let me know down in the comments below. And so I will see you in the next thoughts, analysis, and rant. Bye bye.